It's December 2nd, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have an emperor who seized his own crown, a reactor that changed the world, and an airport that was christened with chaos. Let's begin. On December 2nd, 1804, the world watched as the Cathedral of Notre Dame fell into a breathless silence. Candles flickered against the cold stone walls, casting long, trembling shadows across the gathered royalty, clergy, and diplomats. It was that day that Napoleon Bonaparte would be crowned Emperor of France, a tradition bestowed by the Pope himself. What happened next, no one was prepared to witness. As Pope Pius VII lifted the crown, preparing to place it on Napoleon's bowed head, a general suddenly rose, slowly, deliberately, and he turned away from the altar, walking towards the golden crown resting on the velvet cushion. And then, in a moment, Napoleon seized the crown with both hands and placed it on his own head. Gasps rippled through the cathedral. The Pope's expression faded into stunned stillness, and Napoleon, he stood unmoving, the crown glinting like an ornament beneath the torchlight. Was it raw arrogance, a challenge to the church, or something more unsettling? Later accounts hinted Napoleon had rehearsed this act alone, repeating it with eerie precision, as if compelled by a force beyond ambition. Others swore it was spontaneous, a sudden defiance and declaration that no man, no church, and no God would ever stand above him. Whether it was defiance or destiny, the world would spend the next decade paying the price for that single act. On December 2nd, 1942, beneath the quiet campus of the University of Chicago, in an abandoned squash court that smelled of cold concrete and dust, a group of scientists gathered around a wooden and graphite structure, the object they called Chicago Pile 1. It looked less like a scientific instrument, and more like something unearthed, ancient, and ominous. At the center of it stood the physician Enrico Fermi, calm in a way that unnerved even his closest colleagues. They knew what this moment meant. Humanity was about to awaken a force that had never been controlled before. As the final control rods were inched out, slowly, cautiously, the room fell completely silent. And then it began. The faint popping echoed inside the graphite pile, sharp, quick, irregular. Then came the ticking, metallic, unnatural, almost like someone tapping on the walls from inside. The sound didn't match any instrument, any machine, and any expected reaction. They were rhythmic and intelligent. The experiment continued. For 28 long minutes, the eerie chorus played on. Ticks, pops, and something like distant crackling. It was the world's first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction, pulsed to life in the darkness. Fermi kept working, expression blank, as if he had expected these sounds all along. But afterwards, in his notes, several scientists admitted the truth. For a moment, they felt as though the pile was alive, responding to their actions. Officially, those noises were dismissed as structural stress. Unofficially, to those who heard them, they never forgot. On that cold December afternoon, under the squash court no one visits anymore, humanity crossed a threshold. Whatever those sounds were, they echoed long after the experiment ended, like a warning that no one understood at the time. On December 2nd, 1939, New York City gathered in excitement as LaGuardia Airport prepared for its grand opening. The runways were polished, the crowds bundled for the winter cold, and the mayor himself eagerly waited on the tarmac. As the first aircraft approached for the ceremonial landing, something strange began to happen. Witnesses say the plane descended normally at first. Then, without warning, it lurched downward, as if an invisible hand had yanked it from the clouds. The nose dipped sharply towards the icy water of the Flushing Bay. Spectators screamed, pointing upward in horror. Cameras captured this aircraft, shuddering violently as pilots fought to regain control. Inside the cockpit, alarms blared. The pilots later reported they had hit an air pocket, a sudden absence of lift in the atmosphere, collapsing beneath them. At the last possible second, the plane pulled up, wheels skimming the bay only a few feet. Some swore they saw a spray of water behind it. Others claimed the engine sounded wrong, strained, like they were pushing against something unseen. When meteorologists reviewed the data, they found no storm, no downdrafts, and no atmospheric anomalies. The air had been calm, perfect for flying, yet something had reached up and nearly pulled the commercial airline out of the sky on opening day. If the airport was cursed, or simply unlucky, no one could say, but its first moments in history were nearly its last. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.